Your personal goals, when it comes to your personal goals, there's an undeniable desire to share them with others. We feel this need to tell our friends, our family, maybe even our colleagues what we're aiming for in life. It gives us a sense of excitement, a validation that we're working towards something meaningful. But let me tell you something, it's in those early stages when the goal is still a seed that it is most vulnerable. You see, when you share your goals prematurely, before they've been nurtured and fully developed in your own mind, you expose them to opinions, doubts, and judgments that may not be aligned with your vision. People often unintentionally can project their own fears onto your dreams. They may question your abilities, suggest you aim lower, or plant seeds of doubt about whether you can really accomplish what you set out to do. Even well meaning individuals can unintentionally dim your light, casting shadows over what was once a bright, clear path. Now, imagine you've just shared a deeply personal goal, something that means the world to you, and instead of the support or encouragement you were hoping for, you're met with skepticism. Maybe someone tells you it's unrealistic or that it's going to take far longer than you expect. Maybe they laugh it off, not seeing the vision you have so clearly in your heart. That moment can shake you. It can make you question yourself, doubt your abilities, and even reconsider whether you should pursue the goal in the first place. And here's the thing, those reactions are often more about them than they are about you. Their limitations, their fears, their past failures or insecurities, all of that gets tangled up in the way they respond to your dreams. But when you're still in the early stages, still building your own belief, that outside noise can seep in and it can be damaging. There's also this phenomenon where the more we talk about something, the more it feels like we've already accomplished it. We get this temporary satisfaction, this fleeting sense of achievement, simply by telling someone else what we plan to do. It tricks our mind into thinking progress has been made when in reality, nothing has changed. The energy that could have gone into taking action, into building the foundation for that goal, gets spent in conversation instead of in execution. It's as though by sharing, we've released the pressure to actually follow through because we've already gotten that hit of validation from those around us. When you keep your goals to yourself, you preserve their power. You protect them from external influence. There's something sacred about holding onto a vision that only you know about. It gives you time to let it fully form in your mind, to build your confidence, to prepare mentally and emotionally for the journey ahead without anyone else's input clouding your judgment. And when you finally start taking action, you do so from a place of internal strength, not external pressure. You move forward because you believe in the goal, not because someone else's opinion is steering you in one direction or another. Your financial status, when it comes to your financial status, whether you're thriving or struggling, that information holds a particular kind of weight in the world. Money, whether we like to admit it or not, shapes relationships, influences interactions, and often determines how people treat you. If you're doing well financially, there's a temptation to share that success, to let people know how far you've come or what you've achieved. It's natural to want recognition for the fruits of your labor, to show the world that you've made it in some way. But here's the thing, when you start sharing the details of your financial success, it changes the dynamics of your relationships. People begin to see you differently. Some may envy you, others may start treating you as a source of opportunity, and suddenly what was once a genuine connection becomes clouded by financial interests. Friends and family may start asking for favors, loans, or expecting you to pay for things in ways they never did before. And even if you're generous and willing to help, those expectations can quickly lead to resentment or frustration when you realize the relationship has shifted from mutual respect to one that revolves around money. On the other hand, if you're struggling financially, sharing that reality with others can also have its consequences. When people know you're going through tough times, they may judge your choices, question your spending habits, or offer unsolicited advice that feels more like criticism than support. It's not uncommon for those around you to project their own insecurities or fears about money onto your situation, making you feel even more isolated or inadequate. The more you talk about your struggles, the more it becomes a topic of conversation. And before you know it, your financial situation becomes a defining feature of how people perceive you. It can create an unspoken hierarchy in relationships where those who are more financially stable feel superior, even if that's not their intention. And the more you share, the more it feels like your financial status is a reflection of your worth, when in reality it's just a moment in time, a chapter in your life, not the whole story. There's also the issue of privacy. Money is a deeply personal matter, and once you open that door, it can be difficult to close. People start asking questions, making assumptions, and drawing conclusions about your life based on incomplete information. They don't see the full picture, the sacrifices you've made, the risks you've taken, the responsibilities you carry. All they see are the numbers, the surface level details that don't truly represent your journey. And once people know about your financial situation, it becomes a topic of conversation that's hard to escape. Whether you're doing well or struggling, your finances are no longer yours alone, they become public property, something for others to discuss, analyze, and even gossip about. Moreover, sharing your financial status can affect how people treat you in unexpected ways. If you're doing well, some may assume you no longer have struggles or needs, that you've somehow transcended the challenges of life just because you have money. They may start to overlook your emotional or personal needs, thinking that financial success has solved all your problems. On the flip side, if you're struggling, people may begin to see you as a burden, someone who needs saving or fixing, rather than recognizing the strength and resilience it takes to navigate financial hardship. You become the subject of pity or worse, judgment, and it can be difficult to break free from those perceptions once they've taken root. And let's not forget the societal pressures that come with disclosing your financial status. We live in a world where money is often equated with success, where wealth is seen as a marker of achievement and status. When you share your financial success, there's an unspoken expectation that you'll continue to climb, to amass more wealth, to keep proving your worth through material gains. That pressure can be overwhelming, especially when it feels like people are constantly watching, waiting to see if you'll maintain your success or fall from grace. It creates a cycle of performance where your value is tied to your bank account, and that's a dangerous game to play. Similarly, when you disclose financial struggles, you may feel the weight of societal expectations to fix your situation, to bounce back quickly, to prove that you're capable of overcoming adversity. It can be exhausting to live under the constant scrutiny of others, to feel like your financial journey is not just your own, but a spectacle for everyone else to observe and judge. Sharing your financial status can also invite comparisons, both from others and within yourself. People start to measure your success against their own, wondering why they haven't achieved the same level of financial stability or success. They may start to question their own choices, and those comparisons can breed resentment, jealousy, and even competition. What should be a personal, private aspect of your life becomes a benchmark for others, a way for them to measure their own progress or lack thereof. And that comparison isn't just external, it's internal too. When you share your financial status, you may find yourself constantly comparing your current situation to where you think you should be, feeling pressure to keep up with others or live up to the expectations you set for yourself. That kind of pressure can be stifling, and it can take away the joy and fulfillment that comes from simply living your life on your own terms, at your own pace. Your next move, there's something incredibly powerful about keeping your next move to yourself, about holding your cards close to your chest while you plan your next steps in silence. In life, we're often tempted to share what we're about to do next, to tell others about our plans, our strategies, and where we're headed. It can feel exhilarating, like you're declaring to the world that you're on the verge of something great, something big, and you want others to know about it. But there's a danger in that. The moment you reveal your next move, you invite the opinions, the judgments, and sometimes even the sabotage of others. People, whether they realize it or not, can disrupt your progress before it's even started. They may question your decisions, doubt your capabilities, or offer unsolicited advice that throws you off course. And while some of this feedback may come from a place of care or concern, it can still have the effect of making you second guess yourself, of making you wonder if the path you've chosen is really the right one. When you share your next move, you also give others the opportunity to interfere with your plans. Even the most well-intentioned people may inadvertently slow you down, asking questions or offering suggestions that divert your focus. Suddenly, you're explaining yourself, justifying your choices, and defending your plan instead of simply executing it. And while you're busy talking, analyzing, and reconsidering, the momentum you had begins to dissipate. The energy that was once directed toward action is now being spent on conversation, and before you know it, what was once a clear, determined move forward has become clouded by doubt and distraction. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less time and energy you have to actually do it. That's why it's so important to guard your next move, to keep it sacred, to protect it from the opinions of others until it's fully formed and ready to be revealed on your terms. There's also a strategic advantage to moving in silence. When people don't know what you're planning, they can't undermine you, they can't copy you, and they can't get ahead of you. In today's world where competition is everywhere and opportunities can be fleeting, revealing your next move too early can give others the chance to take advantage of the situation before you've had the chance to fully capitalize on it. Whether it's in business, relationships, or personal growth, keeping your next move private allows you to maintain control, to steer your course without interference. You move at your own pace, on your own terms, without worrying about who's watching or what they might think. It's like playing chess. When your opponent doesn't know your strategy, you have the upper hand. You can make calculated, deliberate moves that lead you closer to your goal without tipping off anyone who might try to derail you. Another reason to keep your next move to yourself is that it allows you to maintain flexibility. When you've shared your plans with others, you can feel locked into a particular path, as though you have to follow through on what you said you were going to do because now everyone is expecting it. This creates pressure, a sense of obligation to meet the expectations of others, even if your circumstances or mindset have changed. But when you keep your next move private, you give yourself the freedom to pivot, to adjust your course without having to explain or justify it to anyone. You're not bound by what others know or expect of you. You're free to evolve, to shift directions as needed, to adapt to the changing landscape of your life, without the weight of external expectations bearing down on you. And then there's the element of surprise. When you make your next move in silence, when you achieve something without broadcasting your intentions, you create an impact that's far more powerful than if everyone saw it coming. People take notice when results appear seemingly out of nowhere, when you accomplish something without having announced every step along the way. It sends a message not just to others, but to yourself that you're capable of moving in stealth, of achieving great things without the need for constant validation or attention. You're not doing it for applause or recognition. You're doing it because it's part of your journey, your growth, your evolution. And when you finally do reveal your success, it's on your terms at the right moment and in a way that commands respect rather than invites opinions. Sharing your next move too soon can also make you vulnerable to unnecessary pressure. The moment you let people in on your plans, you invite their expectations, their timelines, and their judgments into your process. They start asking questions: when are you going to do it? How are you going to make it happen? Are you sure that's the right approach? And while some of those questions may come from a place of curiosity or support, they can create a sense of urgency that isn't always helpful. You may start to feel rushed, as though you have to meet the expectations of others instead of following your own internal timing. This pressure can lead to hasty decisions, shortcuts, or compromises that ultimately undermine the success of your move. By keeping your plans to yourself, you maintain control over the pace and direction of your actions. You're not beholden to anyone else's timeline but your own, and that allows you to move forward with confidence and clarity. Your private struggles, when it comes to your private struggles, there's a deep urge within us to share them with others, to let people in, to seek understanding, empathy, or advice. We believe that by opening up about our challenges, we might find comfort in the support of those around us. But here's the reality: your struggles are some of the most intimate parts of your life, and sharing them too freely can have consequences you may not foresee. You see, not everyone you share your burdens with will handle them with the care and sensitivity they deserve. Even the people closest to you may not fully understand what you're going through. and that misunderstanding can lead to unintended hurt, misjudgment, or even betrayal. It's not that people don't care, it's that they often don't have the capacity to fully grasp the depth of your pain or the intricacies of what you're battling internally. And when you expose your private struggles to the world, you risk having them trivialized, misinterpreted, or turned into fodder for gossip. What was once a deeply personal experience becomes public property, open to interpretation, analysis, and sometimes even ridicule. Sharing your private struggles can also lead to a sense of vulnerability that isn't always healthy. When you disclose your hardships, you may open yourself up to judgment or unsolicited advice that, instead of helping, only serves to amplify your sense of inadequacy or failure. People often project their own experiences, fears, and insecurities onto your situation, offering advice that may not be relevant or even helpful. They may tell you what they would do if they were in your shoes, but the truth is, they're not in your shoes. They don't know the full extent of your challenges, the layers of complexity that surround your struggle, or the emotional weight you carry. And when their advice doesn't resonate, you may find yourself feeling even more isolated, as though no one truly understands what you're going through. That's the thing about sharing your private struggles. It can sometimes leave you feeling more alone than before, because the people you thought would understand simply don't. There's also a real risk in allowing your private struggles to define you in the eyes of others. Once you've shared your hardships, people may begin to see you through the lens of those struggles, and that can be limiting. You become the person who's going through something, and while their intentions may be kind, the constant inquiries about how you're doing or whether you're okay can become a burden in themselves. It can feel like your entire identity gets wrapped up in that one struggle, as though your challenges are all that people can see or focus on. And the more you share, the more you solidify that narrative, even if that's not the story you want to tell about your life. There's a fine line between seeking support and allowing your struggles to become your defining feature in the eyes of others. And it's a line that's often difficult to navigate once you've opened up. Another aspect of sharing your private struggles is the potential for people to use your vulnerabilities against you. Not everyone who listens to your story has your best interests at heart. There are those who may take advantage of your openness, using your struggles as leverage to manipulate, control, or even undermine you. It's a harsh reality, but some individuals, knowingly or unknowingly, may exploit your pain for their own gain. They may bring up your hardships at inappropriate times, use your vulnerability as a way to discredit you, or simply diminish your experiences because they don't understand or respect the gravity of what you're going through. And once your struggles are out in the open, it can be difficult to regain control over the narrative. People may talk, speculate, or spread misinformation, and before you know it, your private battles are no longer yours alone. They've been distorted and misunderstood in ways you never intended. Then there's the issue of trust. When you share your private struggles, you're placing an immense amount of trust in the person you're confiding in. But trust is fragile, and even well-meaning individuals can break that trust, sometimes without even realizing it. Maybe they share your story with someone else in the name of concern, or perhaps they offer advice that feels more like judgment. The point is, once your struggles are out in the open, they're no longer fully within your control. And that can be a dangerous place to find yourself. You may feel betrayed, misunderstood, or even exposed in ways that you hadn't anticipated, and that can add an extra layer of pain to an already difficult situation. Keeping your private struggles to yourself allows you to maintain control over how, when, and with whom you share those parts of your life. It gives you the space to process your emotions, to work through your challenges at your own pace, without the added pressure of external opinions or expectations. There's also a powerful strength that comes from enduring your struggles privately. When you carry your burdens in silence, you learn to rely on your own inner resources to tap into a well of resilience and fortitude that might otherwise go unrecognized. You develop a deeper connection with yourself, learning how to navigate life's challenges without needing validation or reassurance from others. This isn't to say that you should never seek help when you need it. There's a time and place for opening up, and sometimes it's absolutely necessary. But there's a certain kind of power that comes from knowing that you can face your struggles on your own terms without the need for external input. You become stronger, more self reliant, and more in tune with your own capabilities. Your struggles, instead of being a source of shame or weakness, become a testament to your strength, your ability to persevere, and your unwavering determination to keep moving forward, no matter what obstacles come your way. And let's not forget the importance of protecting your emotional energy. When you share your struggles with others, you often have to relive the pain, the trauma, or the challenges you faced. Each time you tell your story, you open the wound a little bit more, making it harder to heal. People may ask follow-up questions, press for details, or try to offer solutions that don't align with what you need. This constant revisiting of your pain can be exhausting, draining you emotionally and mentally in ways that make it harder to move forward. By keeping your private struggles to yourself, you create a boundary that protects your emotional well-being. You don't have to relive the pain over and over again for the sake of others' curiosity or concern. You can focus on healing, on finding your own path through the darkness, without the added burden of explaining or justifying your journey to anyone else. Your deepest fears are those shadows that linger in the back of your mind, often unspoken, yet ever present, shaping the way you move through the world, the choices you make, and the risks you're willing or unwilling to take. Your deepest fears are personal, unique to you, and revealing them can make you feel exposed in ways that you might not even fully understand. Fear is a powerful force. It can guide us toward growth, but it can also keep us locked in place, afraid to take that next step, to push beyond our comfort zone. And when you expose those fears, when you let others in on the things that haunt you the most, you're opening a door to your vulnerability, a place that's sacred, a place that only you truly understand. The thing about fears is that they aren't always rational. They don't always make sense to other people. And because of that, sharing them too freely can lead to misunderstanding or judgment. People may trivialize your fears, dismiss them, or worse, use them to manipulate or control you. That's the danger of sharing something as intimate as your deepest fears. They can be weaponized, used against you in ways that you may not even anticipate. Once someone knows what you fear the most, they have access to a part of you that's fragile, a part of you that's still working through the complexities of life's uncertainties. There's a certain kind of safety in keeping your deepest fears to yourself, in allowing them to remain hidden until you've had the time and space to confront them on your own terms. Sharing your fears too early, before you fully process them, can leave you feeling more exposed, more vulnerable, as though the very act of speaking them aloud gives them even more power over you. Fear thrives on exposure. The more you talk about it, the more it grows, and soon it can take on a life of its own, becoming bigger and more consuming than it ever needed to be. By keeping your deepest fears to yourself, you're giving yourself the time and space to face them in your own way, without the influence or opinions of others clouding your judgment. You're allowing yourself to process those fears internally, to work through them without external pressure or expectation. There's power in that, there's strength in knowing that you can confront your fears on your own terms, in your own time, without the need for validation or approval from anyone else. When you share your deepest fears with others, you run the risk of them not understanding the full weight of what you're sharing. They may try to offer solutions to tell you how to overcome your fear, but in doing so, they may inadvertently diminish the depth of your experience. It's easy for someone on the outside to say, just face your fear, or it's not that big of a deal, but to you, that fear is real. It's something that you carry with you every day, something that shapes the way you move through life. And when someone trivializes it, whether intentionally or not, it can leave you feeling even more isolated. You start to question whether your fear is valid, whether you're overreacting, or whether you're simply not strong enough to overcome it. And that can lead to a spiral of self-doubt, where the fear becomes even more entrenched, even more difficult to face, because now it's wrapped up in feelings of inadequacy and shame. By keeping your deepest fears to yourself, you protect them from being misunderstood, from being reduced to something less than what they are. You give yourself the space to honor your fear, to acknowledge its presence in your life without feeling the need to explain or justify it to anyone else. There's also the very real possibility that when you share your fears, others may use them against you, whether intentionally or not. People, even those who claim to care about you, can sometimes take advantage of your vulnerabilities, and knowing your deepest fears gives them a certain kind of power over you. They may bring up your fears in moments of conflict or use them to manipulate you into making decisions that serve their interests rather than your own. Fear, when exposed to the wrong people, can become a tool of control, a way for others to push your buttons, to keep you in a place of uncertainty or hesitation. And once someone knows what you're afraid of, it's hard to take that knowledge back. You can't unshare your fears, and you can't control how others will use that information once it's out there. That's why it's so important to be selective about who you share your deepest fears with, if you share them at all. Not everyone is equipped to handle that kind of vulnerability, and not everyone has your best interests at heart. Keeping your fears private allows you to retain control over how they're managed, over who has access to that part of you, and over how you choose to confront them. Facing your fears is a deeply personal journey, one that requires time, introspection, and self-awareness. It's not something that can be rushed or dictated by the opinions of others. When you share your deepest fears, you invite others into that process. And while that can sometimes be helpful, it can also be disruptive. People may project their own fears onto you, complicating your ability to work through your emotions in a clear, authentic way. They may offer advice that feels more like pressure, urging you to face your fears in ways that don't align with your own instincts or readiness. And that can create confusion, a sense of obligation to follow through on what others think you should do, rather than what feels right for you. By keeping your fears to yourself, you maintain the integrity of your personal growth process. You're not influenced by external expectations or timelines. You're free to move at your own pace, to confront your fears when and how you choose without the added pressure of meeting someone else's standards. Moreover, your deepest fears are often tied to your most personal, unresolved experiences, those moments in your life that have shaped you in profound ways, but that you may not have fully come to terms with yet. Sharing those fears with others can sometimes feel like reopening old wounds, bringing up memories or emotions that you're still working to heal from. And while talking about your fears with the right person at the right time can be a part of the healing process, doing so prematurely can have the opposite effect. It can cause you to relive the pain, to get stuck in the fear, rather than moving through it. By keeping your deepest fears private, you allow yourself the space to heal in your own way, to process those experiences without the added burden of external input or judgment. You give yourself permission to be with your fear, to understand it, to learn from it, and ultimately to overcome it on your own terms. And let's not forget the importance of boundaries. Sharing your deepest fears with others, even with those you trust, can blur the lines between your private world and the outside world. It can make you feel as though your fears are no longer yours alone, but something that others now have a stake in, something they feel entitled to comment on or offer advice about. This can create a sense of pressure, as though you're now accountable to others for how you handle your fear. And that can make it even harder to confront, because you're not just dealing with your own emotions, you're also navigating the expectations and opinions of those around you. Keeping your deepest fears to yourself allows you to maintain a sense of ownership over your emotions, to decide how and when you'll face them without the influence of anyone else. It gives you the space to be fully in control of your journey, to set boundaries that protect your emotional well-being, and to confront your fears in a way that feels authentic and empowering. Your relationship details, relationships are profoundly personal and intricate, weaving together emotions, history, and dynamics that are unique to you and the other individuals involved. When it comes to sharing details about your relationships, there's a delicate balance to maintain. Your relationships, whether they are romantic, familial, or platonic, are often filled with nuances that are not immediately apparent to outsiders. These are the moments of connection, the shared experiences, and the private understandings that define how you interact with the people closest to you. Revealing too much about these relationships can expose you to risks that are not always immediately obvious. For one, relationships are rarely static, they evolve and change over time. What might seem like a significant issue or a poignant detail today could shift dramatically in the future. Sharing intimate details at one moment may lead to misunderstandings or judgments that become difficult to navigate as the relationship evolves. People might form opinions based on incomplete or outdated information, leading to misconceptions about the nature of your connections. Moreover, relationships involve multiple perspectives and feelings, not just your own. When you share details about a relationship, you're not only exposing your own emotions, but also those of others involved. This can lead to complications if the other parties are not comfortable with the information being shared. They might feel betrayed or hurt, especially if they weren't aware that their personal details were being disclosed. The dynamics of a relationship are a two-way street. What you share can impact not just your experience, but also the experience of those around you. This can create a ripple effect where the act of sharing your relationship details inadvertently affects the trust and intimacy within the relationship itself. There's also the matter of privacy. Relationships often have a sacred quality to them, a level of privacy that should be respected. Sharing details publicly or even with close friends and family can feel like a breach of that sacred space, turning what should be a private matter into something that's scrutinized by others. This can lead to a sense of violation, where the sanctity of the relationship is compromised by external opinions or judgments. When you divulge personal details about your relationships, you also risk inviting unsolicited advice or interference. People might offer opinions or suggestions based on their own experiences, which may not align with your situation. This external input can add unnecessary pressure, making you second guess your decisions or actions within the relationship. It's important to remember that while others' advice may come from a place of concern or care, it's often rooted in their own biases and experiences which may not be relevant to your circumstances. Sharing relationship details can also open the door to comparisons. Others may start to compare their own relationships to yours, either positively or negatively, which can create a sense of competition or inadequacy. This can affect your perception of your relationship and lead to unrealistic expectations or pressures to conform to certain standards. Instead of focusing on the unique qualities of your own connection, you might find yourself measuring it against the experiences or opinions of others, which can be both disheartening and counterproductive. Another significant concern is the potential for misinterpretation. When you share details about a relationship, especially in a fragmented or emotional state, there's a risk that others might not fully understand the context or the nuances of what you're describing. This can lead to misunderstandings or miscommunications, where the essence of what you're trying to convey gets lost or distorted. People might make assumptions or judgments based on incomplete information, leading to conclusions that don't accurately reflect the reality of the relationship. Additionally, there's a risk that once relationship details are shared, they can take on a life of their own. What was once a private matter becomes a topic of discussion, speculation, or even gossip. This can lead to the details being twisted, exaggerated, or used in ways you never intended. The more people know about your relationships, the more opportunity there is for those details to be taken out of context or misrepresented, which can lead to further complications or conflicts. In relationships, maintaining a sense of mutual respect and confidentiality is crucial. Sharing too much can compromise that respect and create discomfort or conflict between you and the other parties involved. It's important to consider the impact that sharing details might have on the relationship itself, as well as on the individuals who are part of it. By keeping certain aspects of your relationships private, you're honoring the trust and respect that is fundamental to healthy connections. This approach not only protects the integrity of the relationship, but also allows you to navigate it on your own terms without the added pressure or influence of external opinions. Furthermore, relationships are deeply personal journeys, and navigating them often requires introspection and personal growth. When you keep the details of your relationships to yourself, you create a space where you can explore and understand your own feelings and experiences without the influence of others. This private reflection can lead to greater self awareness and a more nuanced understanding of your relationships, helping you to make decisions that are aligned with your own values and goals. It also allows you to address issues and challenges within the relationship in a way that is constructive and respectful, without the added complexity of external judgments or advice. Finally, maintaining discretion about your relationship details allows you to preserve the authenticity of your interactions. Relationships thrive on genuine connection and open communication between those directly involved. When you share details with others, there's a risk that those interactions become influenced by outside opinions or expectations, which can undermine the authenticity of your relationship. Keeping your relationship details private allows you to interact with others based on your own experiences and understandings without the added layer of external influence. This approach helps to maintain the integrity of the relationship and supports a more genuine and meaningful connection with the people who matter most to you. In conclusion, safeguarding certain aspects of our lives, be it our personal goals, financial status, future plans, private struggles, deepest fears, or relationship details, can be a profound act of self-preservation and empowerment. By keeping these areas of our lives more private, we protect the intimate and often delicate nature of our experiences from potential misunderstanding, judgment, or misuse. This privacy allows us the space to navigate our challenges, celebrate our successes, and grow personally, free from the influence and expectations of others. It gives us the opportunity to maintain control over our narratives, to confront and manage our fears and struggles in our own time, and to preserve the sanctity of our relationships. Understanding when to share and when to keep certain details to ourselves is not about shutting others out. It's about ensuring that we are engaging with our lives in a way that honors our personal journey and respects the boundaries that help us stay grounded. It's about recognizing that some parts of our lives are sacred and should be handled with care, allowing us to foster genuine connections, protect our emotional well-being, and move forward with confidence and clarity. By navigating this balance thoughtfully, we empower ourselves to live more authentically and resiliently, creating a life that is true to our own values and aspirations, while preserving the integrity of our most personal experiences.